Most people seek comfort. They avoid what is difficult. They ignore what is real. They build a life around illusion. But strength does not grow there. It grows in truth. The kind that is uncomfortable. The kind that challenges you. The kind that removes excuses. These truths are not gentle. They do not comfort you. They do not protect your ego. They force you to see clearly. And once you see clearly, you cannot return to ignorance. This is where change begins. Not in motivation, not in temporary energy, but in reality. The Stoic mind does not avoid truth. It faces it, even when it is difficult, even when it demands change. Because within these hard truths is something greater than comfort. Control, clarity, strength. This is the path. Life does not adjust itself to your comfort. It does not soften its edges to match your expectations. It moves as it is, unpredictable, demanding, often indifferent. Most people resist this. They expect ease. They expect fairness. They expect life to reward effort immediately. When it does not, they become frustrated. They question everything. Why is this happening? Why is it difficult? Why is nothing working? These questions come from a false belief that life should be easy. It is not, and it was never meant to be. Difficulty is not an error. It is part of the structure. Challenge is not punishment. It is the process. The silent mind accepts this early. It does not argue with reality. It understands that effort is required, that resistance will appear, that progress will be slow. This acceptance removes unnecessary suffering, because much of the struggle comes not from difficulty itself, but from resisting it. When you expect ease, every obstacle feels unfair. When you accept difficulty, every obstacle becomes expected, and what is expected is easier to face. The dangerous mind shifts perspective. It does not ask why things are hard. It assumes they will be. This changes everything. You prepare differently. You become patient. You become resilient. You stop being surprised by struggle. And because you are not surprised, you are not discouraged. This creates endurance. Most people quit, not because they cannot continue, but because they did not expect it to be this hard. Their expectation breaks them, not the difficulty. Remove that expectation, and you remove a major source of weakness. Life will test you. Through delay, through failure, through uncertainty. This is not personal. It is consistent. Everyone faces it. The difference lies in response. Some resist, some complain, some stop. Others adapt. They continue despite discomfort. They move forward without needing ease. These are the ones who grow. The silent mind becomes one of them. It no longer seeks the easy path. It seeks the necessary path, even when it is difficult, especially when it is difficult, because difficulty builds strength. It forces focus. It demands effort. It reveals limits, and then pushes beyond them. Ease does none of this. Ease keeps you where you are. Comfort maintains the current state. Growth requires friction. Without it, nothing changes. The dangerous mind understands this fully. It does not avoid challenge. It steps into it, not with excitement, but with acceptance, because it knows that within difficulty is the opportunity to become stronger. This does not mean you seek unnecessary struggle. It means you do not run from it when it appears. You face it directly, calmly, steadily, without complaint. Over time, something shifts. What once felt difficult becomes manageable. What once felt overwhelming becomes familiar. You adapt. You become stronger not by avoiding hardship, but by enduring it. This is the foundation of mental strength. To accept reality as it is, not as you wish it to be. To move forward without needing comfort, even when progress is slow. This creates stability. You are no longer dependent on ease to function. You act regardless. And this independence is power. Because once you stop expecting life to be easy, you stop being controlled by its difficulty. You move through it with clarity, with patience, with strength. At some point, you must face this clearly. No one is coming. No perfect moment. No sudden rescue. No external force that will fix everything for you. This realization feels heavy at first. It removes comfort. It removes illusion. But it also gives you something far more valuable: control. Most people wait. They wait for opportunity. They wait for support. They wait for the right conditions. They delay action while expecting something to change. Time passes. Nothing happens, because nothing was meant to happen. Life does not move on your behalf. It responds to your action. The silent mind understands this. It does not wait to be saved. It acts, even when uncertain, even when unprepared, even when the path is unclear. Waiting creates weakness. It builds dependency. You begin to rely on things outside yourself: approval, encouragement, external motivation. Without them, you stop. This is not strength. The dangerous mind breaks this pattern. It removes dependency. It accepts responsibility fully, not partially, completely. If something needs to change, you change it. If something needs to be built, you build it. If something is missing, you create it. This mindset is demanding because it removes excuses. There is no one else to blame, no one else to wait for. Only you. This level of responsibility is where strength begins. Because once you accept it, you stop looking outward for solutions. You look inward. What can I do now? What can I improve? These questions replace waiting. And with them, movement begins. Progress starts small. One decision, one action, one step forward. It may not feel significant, but it is yours, and that matters. Because each step builds momentum. You begin to trust yourself. Not because everything is perfect, but because you are acting. Consistency replaces hesitation. You no longer rely on ideal conditions. You move forward in imperfect ones. This creates resilience. You learn to operate without guarantees, without support, without certainty, and still continue. The silent mind becomes independent, not isolated, but self-directed. It values support when it exists, but it does not depend on it. It can stand alone. This ability is rare, and because it is rare, it is powerful. You are no longer delayed by external factors. You create your own direction. You decide your own pace. You move when you choose. This removes limitation, because most limitations are self-imposed through waiting. The dangerous mind eliminates that delay. It understands that time is moving regardless. Waiting does not pause life. It only pauses you. So it acts, without drama, without hesitation, just action. Calm, consistent, deliberate. Over time, this becomes identity. You are no longer someone who waits. You are someone who moves. This shift changes everything. Because once you stop waiting to be saved, you realize you are always responsible for your direction. And in that realization, you gain something stronger than comfort. Authority over your actions, over your choices, over your life. No one is coming, and that is not a limitation. It is freedom. Events happen. Unexpected, uncontrolled, often inconvenient. You cannot prevent all of them, but what follows is always yours. Your reaction. Most people ignore this. They blame the situation. They blame others. They blame circumstances. They say, "This made me angry. This caused my stress. This forced my response." But this is not accurate. The event did not control you. You responded to it, without awareness. The silent mind sees this clearly. It understands a simple truth. What happens is external. How you respond is internal. And the internal is where control exists. This is not easy to accept, because it removes excuses. It places responsibility directly on you. not partially, fully. Every reaction becomes a choice. Even when it feels automatic, even when it feels justified, even when emotion is strong. There is always a moment, a small space between what happens and what you do next. Most people never notice it. They react instantly. Anger leads. Frustration speaks. Impulse decides. This creates problems. Words are said that cannot be taken back. Actions are taken that create regret. All because of a moment that was not controlled. The dangerous mind expands that moment. It slows down internally. When something happens, it does not rush. It pauses, even briefly. And in that pause, it chooses. Is this reaction necessary? Is it useful? Does it improve the situation? This is discipline, not suppression. Control. Emotion still exists. Anger may rise. Disappointment may appear. Frustration may surface. But they are not followed blindly. They are observed, understood, then directed. This changes everything. You stop being reactive. You become intentional. Your words carry thought. Your actions carry purpose. You no longer create chaos in response to chaos. You remain steady. This steadiness builds strength, because you are no longer controlled by what happens around you. You are guided by how you choose to respond. This also improves clarity. When reaction is controlled, thinking becomes sharper. You see situations more accurately. You make better decisions. You avoid unnecessary conflict. Most problems are not caused by events themselves, but by uncontrolled reactions to them. Remove the reaction, and many problems disappear. This is power. Quiet, invisible, but decisive. The silent mind trains this daily. It watches itself, noticing when emotion takes over, noticing when impulse appears, and each time it corrects. Not perfectly, but consistently. Over time, reaction becomes response. Impulse becomes intention. You no longer move automatically. You move consciously. This creates stability. No matter what happens, you remain grounded. Not because life is controlled, but because you are. This is the difference. You cannot control everything outside, but you can control what happens within. And that is enough. Because once your reactions are controlled, nothing external can truly disrupt you. Not words, not actions, not situations. You remain steady, calm, clear, deliberate. This is responsibility. And within it is strength. Comfort feels safe. It reduces effort. It removes pressure. It creates ease. At first, this seems harmless, even desirable. But comfort has a cost. It slowly lowers your standards. It makes effort feel unnecessary. It makes discipline feel excessive. And over time, it changes how you operate. The silent mind recognizes this early. It sees that constant comfort does not strengthen you. It softens you. When everything is easy, you stop preparing for difficulty. When effort is avoided, your capacity decreases. What was once manageable becomes challenging. What was once challenging becomes overwhelming. This is how discipline fades, not suddenly, gradually, through repeated choices to take the easier path. Most people do not notice this decline. They adapt to comfort. They build routines around ease. Avoiding effort becomes normal. And once it becomes normal, it becomes expected. When difficulty appears, they struggle, not because the challenge is extreme, but because their discipline is weak. The dangerous mind does not rely on comfort. It does not seek constant ease. It introduces difficulty intentionally, not for suffering, for strength. Small acts of discipline build resistance, doing what is required even when it is uncomfortable, maintaining focus when distraction is available, continuing effort when motivation fades. These actions seem minor, but they reshape the mind. Each time you choose discipline over comfort, you reinforce control. Each time you avoid discomfort, you reinforce weakness. And every choice matters. Comfort also creates dependency. You begin to rely on ideal conditions. You wait for the right mood, the right environment, the right moment. Without them, you delay action. This destroys consistency. The silent mind removes this dependency. It acts regardless of condition, not because it feels easy, but because it is necessary. This creates stability. You become reliable, not occasionally, but consistently. Discipline becomes automatic. You no longer debate whether to act. You act. This removes hesitation. It removes internal conflict. It simplifies everything. The dangerous mind also understands balance. It does not reject comfort completely. Rest is necessary. Recovery is important. But comfort is controlled. It is used, not relied upon. It does not become the default state. Because when comfort becomes constant, growth stops. The silent mind remains aware of this. It does not allow itself to become too comfortable. It maintains a level of challenge, a level of effort, a level of resistance. This keeps the mind sharp, focused, prepared. Over time, this creates resilience. You are no longer affected by discomfort. You operate through it. You continue despite it. This is strength. Not loud, not visible, but consistent. Most people seek ease, few seek discipline, and this difference creates separation. Those who choose comfort remain where they are. Those who choose discipline move forward, slowly, steadily, but inevitably. It does not follow what feels easy. It follows what builds strength, even when it requires effort, especially when it requires effort, because it understands a simple truth. Comfort may feel good now, but discipline builds what lasts. Understanding is not guaranteed. You may explain clearly. You may act with intention. You may move with purpose. Still, many will not understand. This is not unusual. It is normal. Most people see the world through their own experience, their limits, their beliefs, their expectations. Anything outside that feels unfamiliar, and what is unfamiliar is often misunderstood. The silent mind accepts this. It does not expect universal agreement. It does not depend on validation. It moves with clarity, even when others do not see it. Most people struggle here. They want to be understood. They want approval. They want their actions to be recognized. When this does not happen, they hesitate. They question themselves. They slow down to match the expectations of others. This weakens direction, because your path becomes influenced by external perception. The dangerous mind avoids this. It does not require constant understanding. It does not explain every decision. It acts based on internal clarity, not external approval. This creates independence. You are no longer shaped by how others see you. You are guided by how clearly you see yourself. Misunderstanding will happen. Some will question your choices. Some will doubt your direction. Some will project their limits onto you. This is not your responsibility. Their perception does not define your path. The silent mind remains steady. It listens when needed. It considers useful input, but it does not absorb everything. It filters. It keeps what strengthens clarity. It releases what creates confusion. This is discipline at a deeper level, not just controlling thought, but controlling influence. You begin to move differently. You speak less about your plans. You act more on them. You reduce explanation. You increase execution. This protects your focus, because constant explanation invites unnecessary opinion, and unnecessary opinion creates distraction. The dangerous mind stays aligned. It does not adjust direction to satisfy others. It does not reduce its effort to remain accepted. It continues forward, calmly, quietly, consistently. This builds strength, because you are no longer dependent on being understood. You are grounded in your own clarity. Over time, results begin to appear, and when they do, understanding often follows. But by then, it no longer matters, because your movement was never dependent on it. This is the shift. From seeking validation to trusting direction, from needing approval to maintaining clarity, the silent mind becomes self-contained, not isolated, but independent. It values connection without relying on agreement. It respects others without following blindly. It moves with purpose without needing recognition. This is rare, and because it is rare, it creates separation. You begin to stand apart, not by force, but by consistency. While others wait for approval, you act. While others explain, you execute. While others doubt, you continue. This is quiet strength. Most people will not understand you, and that is not a problem. It is a condition of moving beyond the average. Accept it, and continue forward without hesitation. Failure comes first. Not after success. Not at the end. At the beginning. Most people resist this. They expect progress to feel smooth. They expect effort to lead to immediate results. When it does not, they become discouraged. They question their ability. They question their direction. And often, they stop. Not because they cannot improve, but because they did not expect failure. The silent mind understands the sequence: effort, mistake, adjustment, improvement. Failure is part of the process, not a sign to stop, but a signal to refine. Every attempt reveals something: what works, what does not, what needs to change. Without failure, this information is never gained. You remain at the same level, unchallenged, unimproved. The dangerous mind accepts failure early. It does not attach identity to it. It does not say, "I failed, therefore I am weak." It says, "This did not work. Adjust." This distinction is critical, because once failure becomes personal, it becomes heavy. It creates doubt. It creates hesitation. And hesitation slows progress. The silent mind keeps it neutral. Failure is feedback, nothing more. This removes emotional weight. You are free to continue, free to try again, free to improve without resistance. Most people avoid failure. They stay within comfort. They choose what feels safe. This protects them from immediate discomfort, but it limits growth, because improvement requires exposure to what you cannot yet do. The dangerous mind steps into this space, not blindly, but willingly. It attempts, it tests, it learns. Again and again, each failure becomes data. Each mistake becomes direction. Progress becomes inevitable, because learning continues. The silent mind also understands patience. Improvement is not immediate. It takes repetition. It takes correction. It takes time. Rushing this process creates frustration. Accepting it creates stability. You stop expecting perfection early. You allow yourself to develop, gradually. This reduces pressure. You are no longer trying to succeed instantly. You are focused on improving consistently. This shift is powerful, because consistency builds skill, and skill creates results. Failure also builds resilience. Each time you continue after difficulty, you strengthen your capacity. What once felt uncomfortable becomes manageable. What once felt difficult becomes familiar. You adapt, and in that adaptation, you become stronger. The dangerous mind does not fear failure. It understands that progress is built on correction, not perfection. Over time, this creates confidence, not based on success alone, but based on your ability to recover and continue. You trust yourself, because you know you can handle mistakes. You know you can adjust. You know you can improve. This confidence is stable. It does not disappear when things go wrong, because it is built through things going wrong. The silent mind reaches a point where failure is no longer feared. It becomes expected. And when it is expected, it loses its power. You move forward without hesitation. You try, you learn, you refine, without stopping. This is the path of growth. Not smooth, not easy, but effective. Failure comes first. Accept it, use it, and improvement will follow. Time moves forward, without pause, without delay, without consideration. It does not wait for your readiness. It does not slow down for your hesitation. It continues, constantly. Most people ignore this. They act as if time is abundant, as if there will always be another chance, another opportunity, another moment to begin. So they delay. They postpone effort. They postpone decisions. They postpone change. Days pass. Nothing shifts, because nothing was done. The silent mind does not ignore time. It respects it, not with fear, but with awareness. Every moment has weight, not because it is dramatic, but because it is limited. Once it passes, it does not return. This realization changes behavior. You begin to act sooner. You stop waiting for perfect conditions. You stop delaying what needs to be done. Because you understand that delay has a cost. Lost time, and lost time cannot be recovered. The dangerous mind does not rush blindly, but it does not waste time either. It moves with intention. When something matters, it acts. Not tomorrow, not later, now. This creates momentum. Small actions accumulate. Progress becomes steady, because time is being used, not ignored. Most people underestimate this. They think small delays do not matter. 1 day, 1 week, 1 month. But these accumulate, and over time they become years. Years of inaction, years of hesitation. It understands that time is not just passing. It is being spent. Every moment is an exchange. You give time for something. The question is, what are you giving it to? Distraction, avoidance, comfort, or growth, effort, progress? This awareness creates discipline. You begin to choose more carefully. What deserves your time? What does not? This simplifies everything. You remove what is unnecessary. You focus on what matters, because you know that time is limited. The dangerous mind also accepts that not everything can be done. This is important, because trying to do everything leads to nothing being done well. So it chooses, it prioritizes, it directs time with precision. This creates depth. Instead of scattered effort, there is focused action. Instead of random movement, there is direction. This leads to meaningful progress. Time also brings endings. Opportunities close, situations change, people move on. Nothing remains forever. This is not negative, it is reality. And accepting it creates urgency, not panic, purpose. You begin to act while you can, to build while the chance exists, to move before the moment passes. The silent mind becomes aware of this constant movement. It does not fear it, it uses it. Each day becomes an opportunity to act with intention, to improve, to refine, to move forward, without delay. Over time, this creates a different life. Changed. But because you did, you stopped wasting it. You started using it. Deliberately, consistently, with awareness. This is the difference. Time is limited, but how you use it is within your control. Recognize this, and you remove hesitation. You remove delay. You move forward with clarity, because you understand that the moment you have now is the only one you are guaranteed. You want control over outcomes, over people, over how things unfold. This desire feels natural. If everything were controlled, there would be no uncertainty, no disruption, no unexpected change. But this control does not exist, not in the way most people imagine. You cannot control outcomes completely. You cannot control how others think. You cannot control every situation. Yet most people try. They plan excessively. They worry constantly. They attempt to predict everything. When reality does not match their expectations, they become frustrated, because they believed they were in control. The silent mind sees through this illusion. It understands a clear boundary. Control exists internally, not externally. You control your thoughts, your actions, your responses. Everything else is influenced, but never fully controlled. This distinction is critical, because confusion between the two creates stress. You try to control what cannot be controlled, and when it fails, you feel powerless. But the problem is not reality, it is the expectation. The dangerous mind removes this expectation. It stops trying to control everything. Instead, it focuses only on what is within reach. Your effort, your discipline, your direction. This simplifies everything. Energy is no longer wasted on uncertainty. It is directed toward action. This creates effectiveness. You become more focused, more efficient, more grounded, because your attention is placed correctly. Trying to control the external creates anxiety. You think about outcomes that are not yet decided. You imagine scenarios that may never happen. You attempt to prepare for every possibility. It does not create control. The silent mind releases this. It accepts uncertainty, not passively, clearly. It understands that not everything can be predicted. Not everything can be shaped, and that is fine. Because stability does not come from controlling the external. It comes from controlling the internal. This shift removes pressure. You no longer need everything to go your way. You focus on doing your part well, and you allow outcomes to unfold as they will. This creates calm, not because life is predictable, but because you are no longer trying to force it to be. The dangerous mind operates with precision. It acts where action matters. It releases where control ends. This balance is strength. You are not passive. You still move. You still build. You still decide. But you do not attach your stability to what you cannot control. This prevents frustration, because when outcomes shift, you adjust, without resistance, without emotional collapse. You continue, calmly, steadily. This is resilience, built not on control of the world, but on control of yourself within it. Most people never reach this point. They remain tied to external results. Their state rises and falls with what happens around them. The silent mind is different. It remains grounded because its foundation is internal, unmoved by uncertainty, unaffected by what it cannot control. This creates freedom. You are no longer reacting to every change. You are no longer disturbed by every outcome. You move with clarity on what is yours to control. And that is enough. Because once you master what is within, what is outside loses its power over you. Strength is often mistaken for noise. Loud words, showy actions, attention-seeking displays. Most people assume visibility equals power. They believe that if strength exists, it must be seen, recognized, admired. But the silent mind knows differently. True strength does not demand recognition. It does not need applause. It does not advertise itself. It exists quietly, firmly, consistently. The dangerous mind understands this. It does not speak to prove power. It acts to demonstrate capability. It moves to maintain stability. It thinks to preserve clarity. This creates an internal presence that is undeniable. You feel it even if others do not. Silence is not weakness. Stillness is not inaction. Calm is not passivity. These are the hallmarks of mastery. Most people seek external validation. They measure strength by how others react. They equate impact with recognition. They mistake volume for effectiveness. The silent mind avoids this trap. It measures strength differently. by consistency, by resilience, by the ability to remain unmoved when chaos surrounds, by how well it executes without needing approval. This approach changes perspective. You no longer need to prove yourself. You no longer compete for attention. You no longer perform for approval. Your energy is preserved. It is concentrated. It builds capacity. It develops endurance. It deepens focus. Strength is cultivated, not displayed. It grows quietly through repeated choices, to act when necessary, to remain disciplined when ignored, to persevere when unseen, to respond thoughtfully rather than react emotionally. Each act compounds. Over time, it becomes unshakable. No longer seek acknowledgement, because the work itself is enough. The results eventually speak, but not immediately, not loudly, not for show. Strength does not rush. It does not need to. It emerges naturally, like water carving stone, like wind shaping cliffs, like sunlight gradually revealing clarity. This is subtle, invisible to the impatient, apparent only to the observant. Most people never notice, but it does not matter. The silent mind is unconcerned with recognition. Its focus remains internal. Its discipline remains intact. Its purpose remains unshaken. This creates a paradox. The quieter you are, the stronger you become. The less you seek attention, the more influence you hold. The less you announce, the more effective your action. This is not arrogance. It is mastery. It is the power of control, the power of awareness, the power of discipline. The dangerous mind understands that strength is not a performance. It is a presence, a state of being, silent, calm, resolute, and because it is silent, it is enduring. It cannot be taken away by circumstance. It cannot be shaken by opinion. It cannot be diminished by recognition or lack thereof. It simply exists, consistently, purposefully, unobtrusively. This is the final truth. Strength does not need to announce itself. It moves quietly. It acts deliberately. It persists silently. And in that silence, it becomes unstoppable. Pain is unavoidable. Not everyone experiences it the same way. Not every pain is obvious. Not every discomfort is visible. Yet all pain carries instruction. Most people run from it. They numb it. They ignore it. They blame external circumstances. This avoidance is natural, but it is also costly. When you avoid pain, you avoid learning, you avoid growth, you avoid adaptation. Pain is not punishment. It is information. It reveals where strength is lacking. It exposes weakness. It identifies limitation. The silent mind does not fear pain. It observes it. It studies it. It learns from it. Physical pain, emotional pain, mental pain, all carry a lesson. They teach resilience. They teach patience. They teach discipline. Most people mistake discomfort for failure, a setback, a misstep, a personal flaw. The dangerous mind sees differently. Pain signals opportunity, opportunity to refine thought, opportunity to correct behavior, opportunity to strengthen the body and mind. Avoidance delays this process. The longer you resist pain, the more it accumulates. It resurfaces in subtler forms. It returns as frustration, anger, or anxiety. The silent mind faces pain deliberately. It does not seek suffering, but it does not recoil from it. Controlled exposure is mastery. You introduce small discomforts. You train in conditions that challenge focus. You endure situations that provoke emotion. Each encounter teaches control. Each confrontation builds resilience. Each moment endured strengthens the mind. Pain also removes illusion. It strips away comfort, vanity, and pride. It reveals the core of who you are. And this is critical. The dangerous mind does not hide behind denial. It does not rely on external validation to shield itself. It faces reality directly. This creates clarity. It allows you to see what matters, what is trivial, what is within your power. Pain sharpens awareness. It clarifies priorities. It focuses effort. Those who avoid it remain soft, their vision blurred, their energy diffused. The silent mind converts suffering into understanding. It transforms discomfort into insight. It transforms struggle into strength. It transforms resistance into growth. This is slow work, quiet work, consistent work. Pain does not produce instant wisdom. It produces depth over time. Every challenge endured leaves a residue of calm. Every struggle faced silently builds confidence. Every moment you withstand without complaint increases mental fortitude. The dangerous mind embraces this truth. It does not enjoy pain, but it respects it. It does not chase suffering, but it seeks the lessons within it. It does not react impulsively, but it learns deliberately. Pain becomes a tool, a teacher, a guide. And once this perspective is internalized, life becomes less threatening. Obstacles no longer provoke panic. Discomfort no longer creates hesitation. Setbacks no longer paralyze action. The silent mind grows. It strengthens quietly, steadily, and through pain, it becomes resilient, undaunted by the challenges others flee. True freedom is rare. Most people mistake it for choice, for options, for external circumstances. They believe freedom means being able to do whatever they want, go wherever they desire, or acquire whatever they seek. But this is illusion. External conditions are fleeting. They change constantly. They are subject to luck, chance, and the decisions of others. Relying on them for freedom creates dependency, vulnerability, uncertainty. The silent mind understands a different path. Freedom is internal. It is mastery over self. It is control over thought, emotion, and reaction. Until you can govern your own mind, you are enslaved. Not by others, but by yourself. By fear, by desire, by impulse, by attachment. The dangerous mind seeks mastery over these. It practices restraint. It cultivates awareness. It chooses response over reaction. Freedom begins when you no longer surrender to every impulse, when you no longer allow external events to dictate emotional state. This is discipline at a profound level. It is not restriction. It is choice. Choice in how to think. Choice in how to act. Choice in how to respond. The silent mind understands that the external world cannot take this from you. No circumstance, no opinion, no obstacle can remove inner freedom once it is achieved. Most people live in chains without realizing it. They react to news, to gossip, to setbacks. They crave validation, wealth, and approval. They allow every situation to sway their mood. This is slavery by circumstance. The dangerous mind does not live this way. It acts with purpose. It responds deliberately. It maintains clarity regardless of chaos. Internal mastery allows calm in storms, focus amid distraction, strength despite opposition. It allows decisions to emerge from clarity, not panic or desire. This freedom transforms life. You no longer chase approval. You no longer fear judgment. You no longer surrender to every temptation. You are self-contained, self-directed, self-assured. And because of this, you move through the world with efficiency and precision. Your energy is not scattered on things you cannot control. It is concentrated on things that matter. The silent mind achieves liberty because it is not bound by circumstance. It is not chained to emotion. It is not enslaved by habit. Every act of restraint builds freedom. Every moment of awareness strengthens autonomy. Every choice made consciously reduces dependence on the unpredictable world. This is rare. Few achieve it. Fewer maintain it. But once attained, it is unshakable, and it manifests outwardly. The dangerous mind moves freely, even in constraint. It influences without coercion. It acts decisively without distraction. This is true power, not control over others, but mastery over self. Freedom is not given, it is earned. through discipline, through awareness, through consistent internal practice. The silent mind moves with certainty. It is not loud, it is not boastful, it does not seek permission, it simply is. And in that state, freedom becomes absolute.